When is it coming? When are we going to get this moment, this greatest stuff that we're all expecting, the stuff we're being promised?
The cooking, the Brewsters, the coffee, the Katrina with the good luck and the bad luck and the good luck and all that stuff.
But when are we going to get it? When can we expect it? Let's break it down. What is up, everybody? Bobby here, the Nintendo Guru, and man, we have so much stuff on our plates that we don't know what's happening, what's coming, and all that stuff. And I wanted to kind of take a second to kind of talk about some things, some potential things, some things that are being rumored, and kind of break it down and digress and talk about it. And the updates. I think the updates are the biggest forefront. Leading into September, a lot of people were making predictions, bold predictions about what we would get in the September update, myself included. I was one of those that was getting caught up in the hype and the rumors and all that, and just felt like this is what's going to happen. And I think we need to take a step back, myself included again, take a step back and kind of look at these things in a more realistic fashion. What do we know? We know that starting next month, we are going to get updates every single month straight until March, which is the launch of the game. So the final end of the year, up until the final end of the Animal Crossing year, the first year of the game, we should relatively get updates every single month moving forward here. What updates can we look forward to? Well, October, we know we're getting the Halloween and Jack update. We know that in November brings Franklin and Thanksgiving. We know that in December comes Jingle and Christmas, Toy Day, is what it's called in the game. We know that in January, there's not anything in particular that's going to happen in January, but we do know in February comes Festival, Pave, and then we know in March comes the Mario items, right? And what could that be in the grand scheme of things? There's so much mystery behind that. We don't know exactly what we're getting, what we're not getting, and all that stuff. But I wanted to talk about what could be an addition. So what are some updates that we expect to come, and when can we possibly expect them? So here's the thing. January is kind of the open month. We're going to get New Year's, but that's the beginning of the month. There's nothing that really happens through the year. We know that that's the middle of winter, other than, a lot of snow and a lot of nothing that's really going to happen. What exactly could come in there to push through? Could there be anything drastic in there? I don't know. But when I think about it, I go, okay, let's just break it down with Brewster, right? So Brewster is a big thing. Brewster is something that everybody's looking at as this is the mark, this is when it happens. But what makes sense for Brewster? Does it make sense for Brewster now, October? Not necessarily. For me, I think when I think of Brewster, I think you want hot items, coffees during the winter. So could that be a January situation, or could it move into December and take up that whole essence of Toy Day and Christmas? To me, it might make more sense for Nintendo to push that to January to kind of fill that gap up a little bit, so that way there's something big in that January month to push forward and through, so there is kind of like an update in the January month. But my feeling is it's going to be anywhere from December to January is when we can expect Brewster to finally show up. My heart wants him sooner. My heart wants him now. My heart wants to roost now. But I don't know if necessarily that's going to be a thing. Also, the roost showing up in the museum just makes sense to me. It makes sense to me that they would go back to their roots, only because we haven't gotten anything additional in terms of exterior buildings or buildings out in the wild. We haven't gotten buildings that show up to be like, hey, this is what this is going to be now. It's basically the buildings we got at the beginning of the game have stuck true to form. And I think Nintendo kind of likes that feel and the openness of the game. They don't want to fill it with a lot of extra buildings. So my heart says the museum has been the focal point of the game from the launch. It makes a lot of sense for them to push forward, to continue on down this road that they're going, and to push more things into the museum. And I think that's where the Roost, as well as KK, is going to wind up moving. And I think the reason why I think this happens in December or January is because I think they need more time to build this whole momentum of here's the roost, there goes KK, that everything is going to change. And I think it takes something to change moving KK out and into someplace else and doing all these different things. So I think that's why in my head I'm going, that makes more sense for that to come up in January, maybe December at the soonest. That's where my heart's telling me that I feel. The next one would be Katrina. And obviously Katrina brings in, with the good luck, the bad luck, kind of brings in that spooky vibe. And that's why I feel like the best move for her to show up, just show up, is I think essentially to start in October. It just makes sense to me that this is the vibe, the look, the feel of Katrina is a vibe and look and feel of that would be matched very closely to Halloween in October. So I feel like she'll show up in the town square. She'll show up with like a situation of like Leaf and Kix. Like she just pops up in that center square with a little makeshift tent like she did in all the other games. And she'll be able to tell you what to do to get good luck and what to do to clear yourself of the bad luck. Ultimately, that's where I feel. And I feel like she just becomes that resident advisor, vendor that we've seen and grown accustomed to. The changes, I don't think we're going to see a lot of changes drastically. I think a lot of the holidays that are going to move forward, October, November, December, February, those holiday updates, those holiday moments are going to be driven a lot around crafting. And I think it's going to be what we saw a little bit with Easter is going to get that feel. I think they might tweak things in terms of spawn rates, because that was the biggest complaint during the Easter stuff, during Bunny Day. I think we could definitely see some tweaks on that and changes, but I think ultimately what we got is what we're going to expect moving forward. It's just the way it is. I don't think that they're going to lean too heavily into what took place in New Leaf. I think the one thing they do is they go, this is the base of New Leaf, we're going to make some changes. That's the whole vibe of New Horizons. Everything that we did in New Leaf, we kind of still have, but we put our own flair and our own change to it. And I think that's the direction that Nintendo is going to continue to go down with these updates, with these holiday updates moving forward. The only big one that's left is probably, after you get through all that stuff, then what becomes of the Mario update. And that's the curious one to me, because there's so many different directions that Nintendo can go with this. Absolutely, I mean, it could be we just get Mario items. It could be we get all the Nintendo items. It could be a new space in the museum opens up, and it's a Nintendo-themed museum section, which I've been on record to screaming from the rooftops that that's what I want, and I think would be fantastic to treat it like the fossils, where you have these displays of different Mario items that you can put in there. You can go check them out. You can read up on history about Nintendo games and all that stuff. You can have them in there, and that's basically what we do, and that's how we move forward. To me, that makes the most sense of everything. I think that is the be-all, end-all moment, because let's be real, let's be fair. Other than creating a Mario world, I don't see there being much need for these Mario items. I mean, obviously, if you have gear, you're going to wear the Mario gear and all that stuff, but like to have a mushroom out in the wild, other than making a room, I feel like it's so... I want the items, but I also want the items to be powerful and effective, and I feel like just sticking them in a room someplace in my house isn't a payoff. A payoff to me is when we have this big display area where we could put them out and continue down this road of like, hey man, here are all the Mario items, they look amazing, this is what it is, let's go. And I'm hoping that's the way that Nintendo leans and goes, to be honest with you. I could be wrong, but I just feel it is what it is. The final thing I want to talk about is farming and cooking. It's been heavily rumored in leaks that farming and cooking is coming, and I feel like, in my heart, I feel like those are springtime items. Those are things that pop up in March, April. So to me, it makes sense that Nintendo ushers in the Mario items and then follows it up the next month with their Bunny Day. But besides Bunny Day, here is at the end of March to early April, we get cooking and we get farming, and I think it all kind of coincides and goes hand in hand together. I think, to me, farming and cooking changes the game so dramatically that I think that's a year 2 plan. I think that's something that you do in year 2, and then maybe also it comes out before Bunny Day, because then you utilize some things from the cooking to add to the holiday of Bunny Day. You know, it could be like you're making eggs and you're hiding the eggs, or you're giving eggs to villagers and they're giving you items and whatever it might be. Maybe that's cooking dishes, like you're making holiday Bunny Day dishes, like you know, maybe you're making ham or whatever, or maybe you're making dyed eggs and whatever it might be across the way. But I feel like that's probably the best time to present it and to bring it out. I think that a lot of people just got hyped up by reading a couple words in the data mines, and they've taken it to a new level. My heart doesn't tell me that there's a way for this to even be possible right now, because it feels like from now to the end of the year, and when I say end of the year, I mean the end of Animal Crossing's first year of being available, it just seems kind of packed with the updates. Why would you kind of steal the thunder of these other updates with a big moment like that? Like farming, cooking are gigantic changes to the core of what Animal Crossing is to so many of us. It doesn't make sense to me why it would come out any earlier than, you know, March, April, if I'm being honest. That's just my opinion, and I could be wrong, and I know a lot of people hope that I'm wrong, but it just doesn't make sense that every single month leading in, people are going to be like, this is coming this month, this is coming this month. Doesn't make sense that it's coming at all right now. And I think that's what we have to do. We have to take away our wants and our needs and our hype and kind of filter into what makes sense. And what makes the most sense is, what does Nintendo do long term to pull you back in? If they give you everything in the next couple of months, there's nothing to bring you back in the tail end of year 1 of Animal Crossing heading into year 2. But if they can space this stuff out and just give us more time, I think that's what makes more sense. And that's kind of why I feel like Brewster doesn't hit necessarily December, more towards January, because that's the hole. That's the hole where nothing is happening. There's no changes because we would have already gotten snowmen. We've already gotten the ice stuff that coming through December. It just makes sense to me that that's where that stuff is going to go deeper into the January part. And then Pave again comes in February, and that's just festival, and that's where we go. So let me know in the comments below, do you agree with any of this? What are your feelings on these updates? When do you expect to see them moving forward? Follow me, Instagram, Twitter. I also stream on Twitch 4 times a week. Be sure to check me out over there, please. Twitch.tv/Nintendo Gurus. That is all. Peace out, Preston.